Welcome to looking out of my kitchen window. They're the kind of silence that comes later in a woman's life that is feels loud, but it's not loud because of noise. It's loud because of what is missing. The house may be silent because people have moved on, your children are grown, and one day you are standing in the kitchen, looking out the window, holding a cup of coffee or tea, and you realize that you're drinking it while it's still hot. No one is demanding that they get your undivided attention. And it's just you here. And especially for women over 50 who have spent 30 or 40 years being needed every single day, but not appreciated all the time and not poured into all the time, but definitely needed. And then suddenly the assignment has changed. Wow. Now listen, few people prepare women for emotional, spiritual, mental transition of becoming herself after decades of caregiving. That transition is real. And baby, if it's not handled correctly, because you have to understand it's not handled in a weekend. You don't light scented candles and write in your journal, and voila, here you are in this transition. No, this is soul work. Because what you are really grieving, because it is you're grieving lost identities. You know, the identity of being a full-time mother, a wife, partner, a full-time career woman, problem solver. You're grieving the identity that everyone needs me. And for years, that was where your value was and your usefulness. Now you have to discover your value that's connected just to your presence. And that's a different type of living. And honestly, at first it seems very uncomfortable. And it is. It's almost walking around your house feeling like you're a guest. You might sit in quietness and don't know what to do with yourself. Some women start rearranging furniture every 2 weeks because they're trying to rearrange themselves emotionally, seeing where they fit in. You might be over shopping, overspending, overeating, spending too much time watching movies, just too much time doing things that do not direct you back to yourself. But the reality, the stillness reveals some things. When life slows down, your unresolved emotions get louder. You start asking yourself questions like, who am I now? What do I enjoy? What do I want to do? Because what you thought you wanted to do when you didn't have the time, now you have the time and it just doesn't seem important. You can ask yourself, what happened to my dreams? You know, the ones you put on hold. Why do I even feel lonely, though I love my family and I know they love me? Wow, now that's a real conversation. Because later in life, it's not just about aging. It's about transitioning spiritually, emotionally, relationshiply, financially, mentally. Everything shifts. Your body, your energy, friendships, marriage, Even intimacy changes. I don't know if anyone told you that intimacy in later life is less about passion and more about emotional safety, feeling safe in a relationship emotionally, companionship, tenderness, and feeling seen and heard. Some women are rediscovering what romance is for them now, and that's okay. You might be grieving the lack of it. You may be sleeping next to someone and still feel emotionally alone. These are real conversations. And spiritually, oh, this season will push you towards God differently. Not that you stop praying, but the focus will shift. Because when the noise dies down, you can finally hear yourself think. You can finally hear what your spirit has been trying to tell you under all of those responsibilities. You know, you spend years pouring, and now life is asking you to receive, to rest and receive it. Receive your softness, receive joy without guilt, receive your new purpose, receive a new adventure, and receive peace that is not attached to performance. Sounds beautiful until you realize many women don't know how to receive. Been too busy giving to even think about receiving. We know how to stretch, we know how to sacrifice, but receiving, that may feel unfamiliar. And this transition does not happen overnight. People might say, girl, go live your life. Take care of you now. But the reality is, what does that mean? What does take care of me? And how do I do that? How do you emotionally detach from being needed 24 hours a day for 35 or 40 or even 50 years? How do you stop checking on everybody? Even if it's not physically, it could be emotionally. And how do you stop carrying responsibility that's no longer belongs to you? How do you release the old version of yourself without feeling selfish? That's a process and it takes time. Real time. Not months, not weeks. We're talking years. First, you have to accept. And acceptance is not always pretty. Acceptance is sitting in the truth that life has changed, whether you are emotionally ready for it or not. That can take from 2 to 3 years or even longer. Then comes adjustment. Adjustment is where you've been experimenting with. You need a new rhythm. You need to think about doing things differently, sleeping differently, spending your money and your time differently, moving differently. You begin to learn yourself again. You as the woman, just you. And honestly, some women have not even met that version of herself in decades, or may have never met her at all. Then comes self discovery. Now, this is where life can get very interesting. This is where women over 50, 60, and 70 begin thriving instead of merely surviving. You start asking yourself, what makes me come alive now? What have I been thinking about for years? And now's my opportunity to try it. What gifts have I been sitting on and letting just lay there without using them? What brings me happiness? What brings me peace? What brings me joy? And what even challenges me a little bit? Okay? And let me tell you something. A woman who finally stops living only for others becomes dangerous in the best way because now she moves with intention instead of obligation. Now she understands boundaries, and she understands boundaries are just doors for people to know how to enter your life. She values her peace. She understands time is precious, and she stops shrinking. She gives from her overflow instead of her depletion. That woman becomes radiant, not because she's perfect, because she finally comes home to herself. And I want to tell you something. The process is not just straight. Some days you feel good, excited, free. Some days you feel forgotten and overlooked. Some days you feel excited. And even those days when you miss the chaos and the rush days. But that doesn't mean you want to return back to them. You may miss them. And that's healing too. And acceptance. So how are you supposed to do it? You do it slowly. You do it in your own time, in your own pace. You honor your past, but you do not try to move back to it because you can't. You begin creating new things in your life. Maybe gardening, traveling, volunteering, sisterhood, relationships, rebuilding, or getting new ones. Therapy, prayer, rest, creativity. What about your business dreams? Learning new things. And you stop asking yourself, who needs me? And if you do, go look in the mirror and tell yourself, she needs me, as you look back at yourself. Because this season is not the end of being youthful and valuable. It's the beginning of wholeness, a new adventure for you. Just maybe the quietness is not punishment. Maybe it's an invitation to get to know her, an invitation to finally hear that a woman beneath all the roles you have been playing, and maybe the greatest transformation after 50, 60, and 70, and 80 is learning that life still belongs to you. And if you want to invite others in, you can do it at your own time, at your own pace, at your own joy and your peace. Just me and you, looking out the kitchen window. I'll see you next time.